My name is Tim Sussman with IdeaScale, and I'm here today to talk to you about the power of innovation and crowdsourcing. After our talk today, we'll be hosting a live crowdsourcing exercise, so be sure to stay tuned. I'll also be sharing real-world examples from the United States Coast Guard and the Queensland Police Service on how they've used crowdsourcing to remain relevant and innovative in today's world. I want to start by posing a question to all of you. And this is around the new virtual world that we're living in this year of 2020 with less face-to-face human interaction. How are we supposed to engage? How do we interact? How do we communicate in this new virtual world? What's effective and what's not effective? One thing that's become abundantly clear to me this year is that if you don't learn, if you don't adapt, and if you aren't growing, this is you individually, you die, and also your organization will die. Learning new languages and concepts like innovation management, like crowdsourcing, like design thinking, like human-centered design, is vital. It's imperative. Why? Because it's hard to break patterns if you are still stuck in old thinking and old words. At the same time, leadership has to both recognize and empower you, the employee, you, the person, because you are the most passionate resource for your organization, for your service, for your company, and you are important. You have value to add, believe it or not. You have power to be part of future decisions. I remember earlier this year reading a Harvard Business Review article that said innovation is not only the responsibility of the innovation department or the chief innovation officer, if there is one. That onus needs to be on leadership. It needs to be on the CEO. It needs to be on everyone in the company in order to truly be transformational and innovative. I think it was Einstein who said, the real challenge is how can we use the same thinking that caused the problems now to come up with the answers? Well, we have to shift gears into new areas of thinking, into new ways of thinking on how to solve problems. Not the old thinking that caused the problems, but the new style of thinking that creates the answers. So yes, I'm challenging each one of you individually to be a change agent, to change the game, to change your mindset. And yes, be optimistic as we move forward in this new challenging virtual world, but also be realistic. So as we shift into talking about innovation and crowdsourcing, which most people consider to be social words because crowdsourcing requires interaction and collaboration, as does innovation. And I'll share with you a story from the Queensland Police Service, who really wanted to make frontline operational policing more efficient and more innovative. So they created a program called ICOP, Ideas Connecting Our People. And they wanted to ask the workforce, but first they challenged themselves to say, how do we capitalize on the workforce and the great work being done by our workforce, by our police officers? So there's a couple reasons why they wanted to do this. They wanted to connect people across a large state, so very complex. They wanted to transfer knowledge amongst the employees, and they wanted to distribute that knowledge effectively. And that's one trend we've also seen in the innovation space, is that you might have innovative thinking in an organization, but they lack a scalable system or a platform to manage those ideas. So enter in a crowdsourcing platform. And the Queensland Police launched one of their most impactful crowdsourcing challenges, which was from the Q-Light team. The Q-Light team's a mobile team at Queensland Police. They actually are officers that go out with iPads and they're completely mobile. They don't have to go back to the police station to log a report or submit notes, which is both a time-saving, therefore a cost-saving measure for them. And the Q-Light team, their challenge was they had 16 work projects for the following year. And they wanted to prioritize what were the top 5 to begin work on. They had an idea of the top 5, but they wanted to put out a challenge to the entire workforce to help with the prioritization of those work projects. And to their amazement, they actually received 2,223 votes on those 16 projects. One of which, and this was one of the top 5 projects that they already had in mind to execute on first, was downvoted 66 times. And so that project got kicked to the back of the line. And what crowdsourcing did in that moment, and that was just over a 2-week, it was a timed challenge put out to the workforce, is crowdsourcing actually helped to reprioritize their strategic plan for the year. It also did another thing. It gave or granted permission for everyone in the workforce to speak, and to speak outside of the chain of command, which was a real game changer. Because what that did, and what that does to organizations across government, is it says to your youngest, most junior people, you have value to add, and we want to hear from you. So let's shift gears into that innovative mindset and that part of an innovative culture. And if you look at the nature of work in every service, in military, so in the Navy, in the Air Force, in the Coast Guard, in transportation, so being out in the field or being out to sea means having to iterate on the fly, and that breeds innovation. One of my favorite Navy quotes is, "You have to smile in the face of adversity because there is no alternative to you solving the problem. You have to solve the problem." And another story I want to share with you is from the United States Coast Guard, where US Coast Guard Petty Officer, First Class Kevin Spratt, was able to submit an idea using their crowdsourcing platform. And his idea was for a new invention. His invention was called the hammer hook. And Kevin Spratt's idea, Petty Officer First Class Spratt's idea, was to weld a hook to the head of a maul, thereby combining 2 tools frequently used on a buoy deck. A pretty simple idea, but actually turned into be quite a useful innovation, because the hammer hook reduces clutter on the deck for workers, and it also increases workplace safety and efficiency, which makes it easier for crew members to switch between tools. So you have this innovative idea that came from a petty officer who's just doing his job and is just out in the field. And what Spratt said that was really intriguing to me is that he wanted a functional tool and he wanted to be able to do his job. So it was out of necessity that breeded this innovation. And he did it because there was a flaw in the system and he fixed the flaw. So when you talk about the impact of crowdsourcing, if Petty Officer First Class Spratt was not allowed to submit an idea, if he was not asked to be heard from, if he was not empowered to be given his voice, this idea, this innovative idea and invention that did so much process improvement increase workplace safety and efficiency would have never been surfaced. And that has to be, you have to commend several years ago, there was multiple people from the Coast Guard that made inroads into a new innovation program that brought in a crowdsourcing platform that has for years allows for the Coast Guard to solicit new research and development ideas and also to rapidly prioritize hurricane responses. So these two real world examples go into the power of crowdsourcing and the power of having a tool in place. And what we're going to do now is actually kick off a live event where you're going to be able to crowdsource, and we're going to show you the platform. And so keep in your seats and look out for more instruction right now. Thank you.